Most women with high blood pressure take their medication first thing in the morning. Most doctors recommend exactly that. But a landmark study followed more than 19,000 patients for 6 years and found something that changed the conversation completely. The people who took their blood pressure medication at bedtime instead of the morning had 45% fewer serious cardiovascular events. Not 5%, 45%. Same medication, different clock. Today, I am going to show you what that research means for you and give you 5 strategies that directly lower blood pressure, starting with the simplest possible change you can make tonight. But here is what I want you to hear before we go any further. Timing is only the beginning of this story. The other 4 strategies I am about to share have clinical evidence behind them. And number 4 is something almost nobody connects to blood pressure. Yet the research on women over 60 is remarkable. Stay with me for that one. I want to tell you about a woman I'll call Vivian. Vivian is 66. She has been taking blood pressure medication for 3 years. She takes it every morning with her coffee, exactly the way her doctor told her to. Her readings are better than they were before medication. But they are not where her doctor would like them to be. She has had her dose adjusted twice in 3 years. She exercises 3 times a week. She watches her salt intake carefully. She does not smoke. She does not drink much. She does everything she has been told to do. And still, her morning readings are consistently higher than her evening readings, and her doctor calls her situation controlled, but not optimal. She told me once, "I feel like I am doing everything right and my blood pressure is still not fully cooperating. I am tired of adjusting doses. I am frustrated because I don't understand what I am missing. I want to feel like I have some control over this." Vivian had never heard about the timing research. Neither had her doctor, who trained years before that study was published. Once she heard it, something clicked. Not just about the medication, but about how blood pressure actually moves throughout the day and why the strategies that manage it most effectively work with that rhythm, not against it. If that sounds like a conversation you need to have, hit subscribe right now. Because this is exactly the kind of practical, evidence-based information that belongs in every kitchen of women over 60. Before we start, let me explain one thing simply. Your blood pressure is not a fixed number. It follows a daily rhythm as predictable as the tides. It is naturally lowest in the early morning hours before you wake. It rises as you get up and begin moving. It peaks in the afternoon. It drops again in the evening and overnight. This rhythm is controlled partly by your autonomic nervous system and partly by hormones that regulate sodium and fluid balance throughout the day. After menopause, this rhythm becomes less predictable. Estrogen helped regulate it. Without estrogen, nighttime blood pressure often stays higher than it should, a pattern called non-dipping. Non-dipping is associated with significantly higher cardiovascular risk because your blood vessels and heart never fully get the overnight rest they need. Most morning blood pressure readings miss this entirely. They catch you at a point when your pressure has already been rising for hours. What happens between midnight and 6 a.m. is a completely different picture, and for many women, it is the more important one. Understanding this rhythm is the key to understanding why all 5 strategies I am about to show you work. Each one targets a different part of that daily blood pressure cycle. Here are the 5 strategies. Strategy 1. Ask your doctor about taking your blood pressure medication at bedtime. This is the most important conversation this video can start. The HYGIA study, published in the European Heart Journal in 2019, followed 19,000 patients over 6 years and found that bedtime dosing of blood pressure medication produced 45% fewer major cardiovascular events compared to morning dosing. Blood pressure was better controlled overnight. The non-dipping pattern improved, and the benefit was particularly pronounced in women. A follow-up study called the TIME trial in 2022 found similar overall blood pressure control between morning and evening dosing, though it did not replicate the dramatic cardiovascular event reduction. The research is not fully settled. but the conversation it opened is important. For women over 60 whose overnight blood pressure is not well controlled, or who have morning readings that are higher than expected, asking their doctor about bedtime dosing is a simple, zero-cost question that could matter significantly. What to ask your doctor? I have read research about blood pressure medication timing. Given my specific readings pattern, would bedtime dosing be worth trying for me? That is the question. Your doctor will know whether it applies to your specific medication type and your situation. Strategy 2. Do 2 minutes of wall sitting every day. This is the strategy that surprises almost everyone. Not walking, not cycling, not aerobics. A systematic review published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2023 analyzed 270 randomized trials of different exercise types and found that isometric exercise, specifically exercises where the muscle contracts without movement, produce the largest reductions in blood pressure of any form of exercise tested. Larger than aerobic exercise. Larger than resistance training. The winner was wall sitting. Wall sitting involves standing with your back flat against a wall, sliding down until your thighs are as close to parallel to the floor as is comfortable, and holding that position without moving. 2 minutes. This is uncomfortable. That discomfort is the mechanism. When your muscles sustain tension without moving, blood flow through them is partially restricted. When you release the position, a flood of blood rushes through the vessels. This rebound causes the vessel walls to release nitric oxide and relax significantly. The blood pressure drop that follows lasts for hours. How to use it? Start with 30 seconds if 2 minutes feels too much. Build 10 seconds per week. Most women reach 2 minutes within 4 weeks. Once you are at 2 minutes daily, the research shows measurable reductions in resting blood pressure within 3 to 4 weeks of consistent practice. You do not need equipment. You do not need to leave your house. You need a wall. Strategy 3. Add dietary nitrates to your daily meals. Beetroot, leafy greens, and celery are rich in dietary nitrates. Your body converts these nitrates into nitric oxide, a molecule that signals the smooth muscle in your blood vessel walls to relax and widen. Wider vessels mean lower pressure. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2023 reviewed multiple clinical trials on dietary nitrate supplementation and found consistent, significant reductions in systolic blood pressure averaging around 4 to 5 millimeters of mercury. That magnitude of reduction is clinically meaningful. For context, a 5-point drop in systolic blood pressure is associated with a 10% reduction in stroke risk over time. Beetroot juice is the most studied single source. Half a glass of raw beetroot juice daily produced blood pressure reductions comparable to a low dose of blood pressure medication in several trials. If beetroot juice is not appealing, roasted beetroot 3 to 4 times a week, a daily large salad with rocket and spinach, or celery eaten regularly, all provide meaningful nitrate intake. Important note: do not use antibacterial mouthwash immediately before eating nitrate-rich foods. Nitrate to nitric oxide conversion requires bacteria on your tongue. Antibacterial mouthwash eliminates them temporarily, blocking the conversion process. Strategy 4. Breathe slowly for 5 minutes every night before sleep. Slow, controlled breathing with an extended exhale directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which lowers both heart rate and blood pressure through a well-documented mechanism involving the vagus nerve. Multiple clinical trials have tested slow breathing devices and protocols in hypertensive patients. The results consistently show reductions in systolic blood pressure of 4 to 10 millimeters of mercury with regular practice. The protocol is simple. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 2 counts. Exhale slowly for 6 to 8 counts. Repeat for 5 minutes. The extended exhale is the key element. It is longer than the inhale, which is what drives the parasympathetic activation. Do this every night before sleep, not as a relaxation exercise but as a specific cardiovascular intervention. The blood pressure lowering effect is most pronounced when done at night, because that is when your autonomic nervous system is already shifting toward the parasympathetic mode. You are supporting a process that your body is already trying to do. This is strategy 4. The one I said almost nobody connects to blood pressure, because most people think of breathing as relaxation. The research shows it is vascular medicine. Strategy 5. Protect sleep as a blood pressure intervention. Poor sleep raises blood pressure. This is not a soft correlation, it is a hard biological mechanism. When sleep is disrupted or shortened, your body produces more cortisol and less of a hormone called atrial natriuretic peptide that helps the kidneys excrete sodium. More cortisol and more sodium retention means higher blood pressure. Every disrupted night contributes to a pattern that keeps blood pressure elevated during the day. Women over 60 are particularly vulnerable because menopause disrupts sleep architecture in multiple ways simultaneously. Hot flashes, cortisol rhythm changes, and the loss of estrogen's sedating effect all work against deep sleep at exactly the age when cardiovascular risk is rising. 3 evidence-based sleep habits for blood pressure specifically. First, a consistent wake time, even on weekends, which anchors your cortisol rhythm and prevents the blood pressure spike that comes with circadian disruption. Second, a cool bedroom, ideally below 19 degrees Celsius, which reduces hot flash frequency and supports the core temperature drop that signals deep sleep. Third, no screens for 30 minutes before bed, because blue light suppresses melatonin and extends the evening period of elevated cortisol. These 5 strategies work best together. Each one targets a different mechanism. Medication timing targets overnight blood pressure control. Wall sitting drives a rebound drop through isometric mechanism. Dietary nitrates relax blood vessel walls directly. Breathing activates the parasympathetic system. Sleep removes the cortisol and sodium burden that elevates baseline pressure. Used together consistently, the cumulative effect on blood pressure is meaningful, not as a replacement for medication when medication is needed, as the environment in which medication works far more effectively. Let's go back to Vivian. She had a conversation with her doctor about timing. Her doctor, after reviewing her specific reading patterns and her medication type, agreed that a trial of evening dosing was a reasonable next step. Within 3 weeks, her morning readings had dropped noticeably. She also started wall-sitting every morning for 30 seconds initially, which she found more uncomfortable than she expected, and then for 2 full minutes by week 4, which she described as genuinely satisfying in a way she had not anticipated. She added beetroot to her weekly meals. She started the breathing protocol before sleep, which she said she had initially dismissed as too simple to matter. 8 weeks later, she came back with something she had not seen in 3 years. A morning reading that her doctor described, for the first time, as genuinely well-controlled. Not just better than unmedicated, actually where it needed to be. Her doctor reduced her dose slightly. Vivian said something I have thought about since. She said, "I thought I was doing everything. It turns out I was doing everything I had been told, but nobody told me there was more to ask about, more to understand, more to do. I thought controlled meant finished. It did not mean finished. It just meant I needed a different conversation. You can have that conversation. And now you have the questions to ask in it. So here is what I want you to do today. Ask your doctor one specific question at your next appointment. Given my blood pressure pattern and my medication, would evening dosing be worth discussing? That one question starts a conversation that could matter significantly. And this week, try the wall sit. Just once, 30 seconds against a wall. Build from there. Leave a comment telling me whether you take your blood pressure medication in the morning and whether you had ever heard about the timing research before today. And share this video with every woman you know who is managing blood pressure. The research is real. The strategies are simple. and the conversation it starts with a doctor is one of the most useful ones you can have. Subscribe for more honest, practical conversations like this one. I'll see you in the next video. There is always more to know, and the women who seek that knowledge, who ask that extra question, who try that one additional strategy, are the ones whose blood pressure charts tell a different story over the years. Not because they were lucky, because they were informed. One last thing. If you are currently on blood pressure medication, please do not change your timing or dosage without discussing it with your doctor first. Every medication type has different pharmacokinetics. Some work better in the morning, some in the evening, and some it genuinely does not matter. The conversation with your doctor is the point, not a self-directed change. The question is the intervention.